Today's guest might know his way around investing and building businesses, but that's not the reason why he's here. Higgo van Biljon is someone who's been on both sides of the leap, building wealth in the real world and building music from the inside out. So if you've ever asked yourself, am I too late? Am I doing this right? Or even, should I just give up? This episode's for you. This isn't a how-to, it's a this is what it takes. Enjoy.
It's easy.
So let's start here. Music and money, they don't seem, from the outset that they would necessarily overlap, but you've lived both, as have I. I also come from a musical background. So what would you say is something that being a musician has taught you about building something for the long term?
Yes, and it's actually crazy. I've met so many different business people that have a secret musician inside of them. So either they play drums or guitar or write music in some form or shape. So there's definitely some sort of connection there. But yeah, taking it personal, I'd say there's four things where I can connect business or investing to music. So the first thing is that good things take time. With music, like if I look at my own music, I released my first song in 2017 and now it's 2025. And if I look back, I'm embarrassed in a way about the first songs that I released, because obviously with time you get better at things. Same with investing, you get better over time, and also good things take time. So, you won't see the results day one if you release your first song. But if you just continuously release new music and improve your music, then the results also improve. But it's the same with investing. It's if you invested 8 years ago, today, you'll start seeing some of the rewards and you'll reap some of the fruit. You'll see your portfolio is much bigger than you actually dreamed about 8 years ago. So that's, it's important to start now, because you probably wish that you started 8 years ago in my music. So the first thing is good things take time. The second thing is always learn and improve. So taking, back to music where, you reflect on music, you reflect on the results and you take lessons, what can I do better? What did I do wrong? Where can I improve? Who can I get mentorship from, or some, constructive criticisms from, and then learn from that. Same with investing. Along the way, you're going to make successes and failures. Personally, my one biggest success was in Biljon, which I invested in 2014. That turned out quite well, but I also invested a lot into Steinhoff at the peak, and you make some mistakes. So from both you learn, and it's just important to always reflect, what can I do better on a continuous basis, and how can I learn more? Where can I learn from? Who can I speak to learn? The third thing is to use your creativity. So, with music, you need to be creative. You need to create melodies. You need to create new lyrics. You need to put everything together. And with investing, especially, speaking to mostly retail base, is we actually have an edge. When we shop at certain places or we track certain trends or things like that, it actually gives us an edge. So be creative in that. Be creative in the way you track things. Be creative in the way you structure your portfolio. Just be, use your creativity. Use what makes you unique. Use what you understand and double down on that. And then the final thing that I'd say between music and business or investing is don't give up. There's so many times in music as well where I've released a song where I was so excited about the song, and I thought this is going to be the hit, and then it's not the hit. And then the next song you release, it's also the same. But then, out of the blue, you release a song and it does really well. Same with investing is you're going to maybe invest in one or two companies, do some things, that where the stock was the wrong stock that you chose or whatever that might be. But, as Warren Buffett says, you only need a few small, or you need one or two big winners to really make an impact in your financial life. So yeah, don't give up if you see red in your portfolio.
Oh, indeed. I mean, I suppose I'm sure we all wish that we had, the ability to transport ourselves back to when we first started something. It always seems scary at first. As you said, wishing that you had someone that could give you a guide. So if, let's say we could do that now. If we had to rewind and you were starting your investing journey all over again, so you're starting from zero, but you've got the same job, you've got the same budget, same access to Easy Equities, the platform. What are the three things that you would do to set yourself up right from the beginning now? And why those three?
That's a great question. And I wish someone told me this when I started. So I'm gonna try to be as practical as possible with these three tips. The first one is probably the most important one, in my head, uh, and that is setting up a recurring debit order or an auto invest option. And that's what I currently do. That's what I'm doing for my wife. It's what I'm sort of forcing my family to do as well. Because the thing why I say setting up a debit order is investing takes discipline. And, some months it's easy, some months it's not. And you just want to be consistent. If you're consistent over the long run, you're going to be very, very happy. So what the debit order does, you can set the date and you can most probably do it right after you get your salary. But that then forces you, it's something you forget about because many of our debit orders, we don't even realize we're paying for something. So make one of those debit orders an investing debit order. So what I do is instead of just debit ordering cash into my Easy Equities account, I choose the different companies or ETFs that I want to, invest into every month. So I've got a debit order for my crypto. I've got a debit order for my tax-free savings. I've got a debit order for a few companies that I like, and it on Easy it then buys it automatically for me. So that forces me to forget about the investing, the actual discipline of making the deposit, because sometimes making a payment hits your wallet. Um, but it forces you to do that. It forces you to keep a discipline, and it forces you to be consistent. So that is my first tip that I'd give my younger self. The
Right.
second thing is to open a tax-free savings account. It's only something I've recently started focusing on, because I've always backed myself, by the shares that I'm highly, convicted in. But the thing with, the tax-free savings, if you do it over, a very long period of time and you max out, or get too close as possible to maxing out your tax-free savings, in 30 years time, you're going to be very, very happy and you're not going to pay a cent tax on your tax-free savings gains. And yeah, so that is something I wish I started doing as soon as it became a thing. And then the third thing is to learn. It's learn the basics. If you're just starting out, how to invest in shares, how to invest in ETFs. What is an ETF? What is a share? Understanding that a share is a part of a company, understanding dividends. Just learn everything that you can. And the best learning method for me personally was actually buying my first shares. So my dad, I started investing when I was 13, and how I got into that was I asked my dad, I saved some money, I want to buy a gold through a coin. And then he just told me about the stock market and he bought me my first two shares, which was a Lonman share and an Astral share. And it was just after the Marikana thing, the price dropped. So he bought me those two shares and I started tracking the share price every day. And it was just mind blowing to me, understanding that you could own a piece of a company. You can see how the share price goes up. Hopefully it goes up. Um, and then from there I dabbled. I bought a few shares. I sold a few shares. I took mostly losses in the beginning. But when you actually play with real money, even if it's not a lot, just real money, gets you that extra skin in the game to understand better, to understand the company, to understand when to buy, when to sell, all of the investing different topics. And as a last practical tip, there's so many resources where you can learn. You can, even use ChatGPT or whatever AI you use. You can use YouTube. You can read books and magazines. You can do courses. There's courses on Easy Equities. But so to summarize it, the first thing is set up a recurring debit order. The second thing is open a tax-free savings account. And the third thing is learn as much as possible.
Oh, I love that. You talk about the tax-free savings account. We've just for the month of March, we had a course up on the tax-free savings account, and we put a calculator in there, and that blew my mind. I showed it to my son. He's 12 years old because, at that age, you're not really, you can't touch it, you can't see it, you can't feel it. So I showed him exactly that, and it wasn't big. It wasn't, even getting close to maxing out the TFSA. I think it was $500 a month. And when I showed him those calculations and you see the graph, it really, I love that. Mind-blowing. And the learning that you speak of, you've obviously learned a lot, as you say, either through your own investing journey, through building FinMe up, and now, working here at Easy Equities with us. I suppose just generally living it. You live, eat, and breathe it. Now, if somebody had to stop you in the street, I know you spoke about the 3 habits, but if somebody had to stop you in the street and say, hey, I really want to build my wealth, but I don't know what to do. What would be that one thing that you tell them, even if they ignore you? Even, what is that ever elusive one nugget?
So I'm gonna take a step back. So there's 4 steps in building wealth. The first thing is you need to get an income. Like, you can't invest if you're not getting an income. So either through your salary or through your side hustle or whatever that might be. Then you need to save as much as possible. So you need to pay off your credit card or your credit, so that, you stop the bleeding each month. You spend as little as possible while living a good life. So get your income, then you need to save as much as possible. Then you need to invest that which you have saved. And then the final part is to protect your wealth, which is insurance. So keeping that in mind, the one thing, the question is specifically, how do you build wealth? I go back to my first point in the previous part where I said set up an investing debit order, because it forces you to invest on a monthly basis. And, you don't need to be smart, or investing smart. You don't need to do research every day. Do something like an ETF. There's global ETFs, there's local ETFs, there's so many ETFs. The S&P 500 is probably the most popular one. And that gives you access to so many different companies that operate in so many different areas in the world, across so many industries. So it gives you diversification. It's low cost. It's easy. So I'd say, even if you're a 6-year-old, which is not possible, but, just hypothetically, set up a debit order, or let your parents set up a debit order for you, even if it's small, and just invest on a monthly basis into an ETF. From there on, you can expand. You can become, upskill yourself, get into specific companies, get into other asset classes. But, as a starting point, the debit order is that one thing, yeah.
That one thing. It's like battle of the debit orders, except this one is good. This is the one you want this one to go off before all the others.
Yes. And really try to not cancel it, because obviously there's a few months where things are tough, especially in an economy that's not doing too well. That's why I say do it off to your salary, because then it's just easier. But I know sometimes it's difficult. So if you can, really, really try to do every month.
Yeah, I suppose. I think it's one of the things I regret the most from back in my day when I was a little bit younger, because with retirement annuities, a lot of the more traditional providers, like I was with back in the day, you have that debit order and it's going to go off religiously every month. And when I was freelancing, I didn't have that confidence that I would have the ability to sacrifice that 500 Rand a month every month. And it's just, to this day, it's still one of the biggest regrets. But I think it does tie in nicely with the next question that I want to ask you, because we have touched now a little bit on retirement products. So, when you're writing, you're releasing your music, I think we both know that there are those times when you want to have total control and take the reins. But even in music, you've got a producer, or you've got a songwriter, or you've got a mixing engineer. Sometimes you need that little bit of guidance or a little bit of, input from other people. So how do you know in investing? Because, obviously there are fund managers and there are people that professionally manage portfolios. And then you can also do it very much like a DIY, pick your own stock, build your own portfolio. So how do you navigate that balance in your investment life? When to go full DIY and when to trust something or someone else to kind of give you a little bit of guidance and help?
Yes, that's a great question. So let me bring in the music theme back into this. So for me, I write my own music. Whether it's on the guitar or the keyboard or whatever instrument, I write the song, and I write many songs, and many I don't complete. But as soon as I've written a song, I know this song has potential or not, or according to what I think. But then it's there, like it's a very raw version of just my voice and the instrument and the lyrics. For me, music is a passion. It's a hobby. But then there's people who lives and breathe, and it's all that they do. They've upskilled their entire life to do this one thing. So I've got a producer, Daniel Barron, who's an incredible person and incredible producer. So what I'll send him the voice note. He takes that voice note, and whatever notes I give him, with the vibe of the song, whatever, and he constructs it into, the end product that you hear. Then I go record, he does his editing, some songs, some auto tuning and all of that. Then he sends it to another person who all that they do is mastering. So throughout the process, I trust people with my music, with something that's very dear to me, to take it to the next level, because it's all that they do. And they are 100,000 times better than me at that. So taking it back to finances, is many people don't have the time, the resources, or the appetite to constantly look at the markets, to constantly look at the news, to constantly, try and navigate through this complex world in their own finances. Easy Equities has equipped people to, really do everything yourself. You can do your tax-free savings, your RA, your crypto, your shares, all of that yourself. But what we're seeing is that as clients get older, many of them feel that their demand for a financial advisor increases because their financial situations become more complex as, they become wealthier, as they get kids, as things evolve. And what we've also seen is that many young people, might have, 50,000 Rand or whatever that amount is on these equities, but they've got cash lying in their bank or sitting with their company financial advisor that doesn't really, care about their performance. So the bottom line is, for many people, there are, there's a need for a financial advisor. And for many people, they believe that they don't need a financial advisor. It brings it back to, and, one other point is that many young people don't really like financial advisors. The reputation of financial advisors has taken a dip over the past few years for many reasons. But the bottom line is there are also some really, really good financial advisors. The same with a producer. They live, breathe, and eat financial advice and, everything that goes with financial planning and doing it for their clients. And soon we'll actually be working with those good financial advisors on Easy Equities to bring a really good solution for both advisors and clients. But that's a discussion for another day. So to answer your question, I think my personal opinion is that there's a balance. There's a balance between doing things yourself and also potentially looking for a financial advisor. Doing things yourself, if you really upskill yourself, you really know what you're doing, then, go for it. Set up your tax-free savings, set up your RA, do everything yourself. But once things become more complex, it's very likely that you're going to look to a financial advisor or someone that can give you professional advice. And that is a financial advisor, where they can look at more complex structures like, trusts or tax optimization, or, where are you over invested? Where are you under invested? So just that professional advice. So I think, to summarize it all, be open to know that, you don't know everything. And there's other people out there that know what you don't. And sometimes a partnership makes sense. Sometimes it really makes sense to do things yourself, where you back yourself, where you're good at. And, EasyAct is the incredible platform it allows for that, but also be open to partnering with professionals. And soon we'll cater for that as well. So it's
intriguing. I want to know more now, but I suppose all in good time, all in good time. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Higgo. It's such phenomenal advice and tips and tricks, and I hope people, really leave this and just start. But maybe to get them in the mood, get them going, we can give them a little bit of a a portfolio playlist, shall we say. I wanted to ask you, because you're a fellow musician, when you think of, that emotional roller coaster ride of investing, what would be your top 3 songs to kind of, deal with the ups and downs?
That is very interesting. So my 3 songs that I'll go for is, the first one is Little Things from One Direction. And the reason why I chose Little Things, it's just that, small pieces add up. If you invest 1,000 Rand a month now, or 10,000 Rand, or 100 Rand a month, whatever your amount is, if you invest it every month and it's a small piece now, in 30 years' time, it's going to be a very, very big piece. So small things add up. The second song, I'll go for Don't Stop Believing from Journey. And the reason why I say Don't Stop Believing is part, of my debit order theme of the day. Is set those debit orders and just believe that you're going to be happy in many years' time. Remember, this is all about the long term. So don't stop believing in those debit orders.
Okay, I like it.
And then my final song is Eye of the Tiger from Survivor, because it ain't easy. And but just do it. Easy activities makes it easy to do it, but the discipline of continuously doing it is not easy. So be ready for the war in your emotions and in your mind, especially when inflation goes up and you feel like you're getting less and less each month. But remember why you're doing it, and stick to your stick to it.
Stay on the path, eh? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love these suggestions. I think I'm going to add them to my playlist right now. But thank you so much for joining me, Higgo. I think, you're proof that if you're building something, whether it's a song or your financial future, it definitely starts with backing yourself before anything or anyone else.
It's easy.